Hey folks, how's it going? Tim from Pool Pro Answers, the DIY swimming pool channel, here for you homeowners with swimming pools with questions that you need answered. We've been getting a lot of rain here in Northern California, quite a bit of rain actually. Several storms have been blowing through the area and we're not really used to it. Californians aren't built like the rest of the weather zones. We're used to 70 degrees and sunshine, 11 and a half months out of the year. But anyway, the issue we've been having, you can see this pool behind me, you can see it's filled up to the brim, almost to the brim. That's how much water we've been getting here lately. And we've been getting a lot of phone calls in my service business. How do I drain my pool down? A lot of people don't know how to do that. I see it a lot on the Facebook forums that I'm in, and that's really why I made this channel, or started this channel, is because I would see a lot of these questions pop up in these homeowners, swimming pool homeowners Facebook pages, and a lot of misinformation. So that's what I'm here to just kind of answer a couple of those questions. But as far as how do you drain down your pool, there's a few ways that you can do that, and I'm going to flip the screen around and I'm going to show you. In fact, I'm going to show you on a couple different pools, but this pool in particular doesn't have an easy way to drain down the pool. So that's what I want to show you real quick. The best case scenario is when the plumbing was installed on the main filter pump, or you could even use your solar heat pump. Doesn't really matter. I like the main filter pump because I know it's going to stay on regardless of what the automation is telling it if I do an override on it. But typically what we would see, and what we like to see, is on this pipe here. This is the outlet pipe on your pump. The other side is the suction that's coming from the pool. This is going back to the pool, goes through the filter and then back to the pool. We like to see a three-way, or a T as it's called, in plumbed in line right here. Sometimes it'll stick straight up, sometimes you could stick it to the side. It doesn't really matter, because on the other side of that T we would install a hose spigot, so you could connect a garden hose or something to that way you could direct the water away from the pool area. So here's an example of the T fitting coming off of the pump, and you can see the spigot, the hose spigot, just comes right out the top there. So what you would do is connect a hose right to the end of that, open the valve, put the other end of the hose wherever you want the discharge to be, turn the pump on, and it's going to drain down your pool for as long as that valve is open. So don't forget to close that valve and remove the hose when you're done draining it down. So that's one example. So another area where we see is common for putting in a spigot, and it's actually really easy to do, is on your drain on your filter. So you pull this drain plug out, and you'd actually install, I believe it'll take 1.5 inches, it might be 1.25 inches, threaded PVC, and you would just plumb it right in line. Don't over tighten it because you'll crack this. And then you'd put a spigot off the end of that, and same concept. You turn your pump on and open up that spigot, and you're off and draining. All right, so here's an example of a filter. You see, it's a tiny little cartridge filter, but it's got the spigot for the drain on the drain where the drain plug is, or where the drain plug used to be. So you can see it's easily convertible, most of these. This is just a 1.5 inches by 1 inch reducer threaded, and you just thread this guy in. I think putting that in probably cost maybe 15 bucks. I think these are getting a little more expensive these days. But yeah, you just so then the next step from here, you can see this one's pretty old and worn out, but you would turn your pump on over there and then open this valve up, and it'll shoot the water out. Now you can of course hook up a water hose straight to it, and then you can direct the water wherever you want it to go. So there's an example of how you can set up your drain if you don't want to cut into your plumbing and everything and change it that way. So pretty easy way to do it. So those are usually the two more common ways that we see it done. Another way that we could see it done, you can see we have an automation there. We see we have a valve actuator. You can actually program your automation to run a drain pipe. So here's an example of a pool that has the drain that's plumbed in with a valve and an actuator, and hooked up to automation. So this valve right here, this valve here is it moves when you press drain. It moves so that the water exits this pipe here and comes to this downspout. You can see there. So that's another example of how you could set up your pool to drain. You do have to make an adjustment over here, but that's only because they've got solar connected into this pipe. But that's probably not how I would do it. I would do a standalone pipe, but that is an example of how you can do it. And it's set up here on automation. So you would press this button here and it would automatically turn the pump on, and it's set up on a countdown timer rather than a clock timer, so it doesn't come on and turn off at a certain time. It just stays on for about 20 minutes. I think it's 25-30 minutes at a time, and then it shuts itself off and closes that valve when you're done. So that's another example of how you can set up your pool to drain for these heavy water, heavy rain days. So there's one example that I didn't touch on yet, and that's use of a backwash valve. Probably, if there's a pool pro watching this, or even somebody who has one, probably like, well, why aren't you bringing up the backwash valve? And that's really for one basic reason. Here in the Bay Area where we service pools, about every, I'd say 9 out of 10 pools has a cartridge filter, doesn't have a DE or a sand filter. So generally we don't come across them, but that is another good option if you have one, is to use your backwash valve. Now if it's a push-pull valve, which I don't have any of those on service that I can show you, but a push-pull valve, basically it only backwashes, so every time you use it you're going to lose your DE if you have a DE filter. Sand filter you should be okay. If you have an old school push-pull valve, the new, you wouldn't put one of those on a newer one. You'd have a multi-port valve. So if you have a multi-port valve though, you could turn it and put it into the waste mode or the rinse mode, and you would be fine draining off the pool as long as you're plumbed that way. A lot of them that we see are capped off, but I would plumb that into a dedicated line and drain that off into your waste system, however is appropriate for your municipality. But we don't come across them a whole lot, just because most, like I said, 9 out of 10 of our pools are cartridge filter style pools, which don't have multi-port or backwash valves. So like I said, the reason I wanted to just bring this up and post this video about this is because you see a lot of questions. I get a lot of phone calls from customers or potential customers, or I'll show up on site, on a pool site, and I see what they often will do is jerry rig a submersible pump, or it's called a sump, and throw it down into the bottom of the pool and have a discharge that way. Now that is a workable solution. It works just fine. The concern is that you can drain down your pool because you don't hear the sump running, and usually they put it in down deep, so it's going to go all the way down to the level of that sump. The benefits of plumbing it in line is you can program your system to shut off after a certain amount of time. That way, it's only going to, even if you forget about it, it's going to drain down, a few inches past what you want it to be, not much further. But regardless of what style you end up going with or what method you go with, make sure you're neutralizing your chlorine that's in your water before you discharge it. You could incur some pretty hefty fines with a lot of the municipalities if they catch you draining chlorinated pool water. So you want to get a neutralizer before you start draining. And neutralizers are cheap and they work really fast, so you don't have to worry too much about polluting the environment and messing with the biology of all the stuff that lives where you're going to discharge your water. So just a nice little reminder there. And you also can set a timer. I tell people, hey, we have a cell phone. We all have cell phones now, so set a timer for how long you want it to run. That way you remember to come out, or put something out there that you're going to remember you're going to need, like your car keys or something like that. TV remote. I don't know. You probably don't want to do that in the rain, but you know, just different ways to help you keep from draining down this pool completely. Now we've had like 4 or 5 pretty heavy storms here in the Bay Area in California, so we've had to drain a lot of these pools quite a bit. Just some food for thought. Just want to help out because, like I said, I see these Facebook threads and there's a lot of strange information out there. So I just want to try to help out. Now, I know some guys or gals might be in the pool industry, and you watch this channel and you're like, yeah, this is kind of some basic stuff. This guy's, you know, he's kind of out there. But remember, I'm putting this information out for homeowners, for DIY people, not the pool professionals necessarily. We have our own methods of doing things that maybe will work a little bit faster. But it's a little more of a difficulty of setup. I'm trying to help out the homeowners to where they can do this on a repeatable basis, and they don't want to pay, you know, 150 plus for a service call to come out and do a 15-minute job. So just wanted to just kind of put that out there. So hope you like the information. I hope it helps. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like this kind of content or if it helps out. And if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below, and maybe one of these days I'll get to that video or a video on that topic. All right, y'all. Have a great day.